We heard Mr. Bola say that EFCC was wrong in this case because of the way some of those issues are played out. He cited the NIA Act, cited the EFCC Act. Do you think they are wrong in this case?
Well, before we begin to apportion blame, it is important to situate this development within some context that will give some clarity as we proceed. First is that the whole mantra about rule of law is about equality before the law. In other words, are we in Nigeria all equal before the law? The second point is, much as my learned friend has cited the NIA Act, the question really is, does EFCC have the right to effect the arrest of somebody who have been penciled to be involved in the recovery of assets effort? If they have the right, then the follow-up question would be, what is the implication of obstructing the effort of the commission fully constituted and authorized to perform that legal responsibility or legitimate responsibility? Section 39 of even the Police Act, which is a foundational legal instrument empowering that law enforcement agency to act, criminalizes obstructing lawful arrest, particularly in this case when we are told as a fact that there is or was a warrant of arrest.
Okay, not many people know that part.
Well, that fact had also come out, and it has not been refuted, that a warrant of arrest was issued by a magistrate in the Federal Capital Territory.
What does investigation mean in the circumstance of the EFCC moving to make arrests either to NIA officials or the SSS officials?
Now, that's a good question. In law, and technically speaking, investigation can also consist in arrest. In other words, the investigating body is at liberty, given the circumstance of a matter, to effect the arrest of a suspect towards the effective investigation of the matter before them. And in this case, you would recall that the presidency, or the president himself, constituted a committee on the recovery of assets in Nigeria. And in the process of investigation, it was discovered that both the DGs of SSS and NIA were deeply involved in some of the recoveries.
But that's contrary to the account we have of the former DG of the SSS, because he says he's never been invited, he was never indicted by that committee, he was never even named in that committee. So on what grounds are they enforcing or trying to enforce this arrest?
No, well, that question will be left for EFCC. But what is
because that's his own account out there in the public.
Quite frankly, what is known is that...
No, if that were the case...
Yes. That is assuming that were the case.
Yes.
Well, what is investigation? Investigation can also include coming to shed light on what you possibly ought to know. The dragnet of investigation can include any person. Please, we are investigating this matter. Would you be kind to volunteer information regarding what you ought to know regarding the allegations?
Because part of what we read, they also said...
Now, what the question would have been, was an invitation extended to these people?
But that's what I'm saying, that his account says no such thing happened.
No, are you talking about...
But is it still... No, I'm talking about the former DG of SSS. But that of the NIA, I mean, a lot of people have seen that particular case. So can we treat both of them in the same breath or separately?
If the facts you are... I'm not aware of that information, which you said was given...
Well, that's the account. It was in the dailies yesterday.
If you put that clearly as the account of what happened, then they become distinguishable. I mean, the two cases can no longer be on the same pedestal. But my concern really is, what is the fate of a country in which arrests are brazenly obstructed, essentially because you have persons who are in our local parlance, big men. What then will be the contention of ordinary members of the same society who are arrested at will on daily basis?
Let me jump in.
Section 42 of the Constitution frowns at any form of discrimination. All right.
Let me bring this, because some of these, they say that those security agencies report to the president. And they talk about, is it how autonomous they are or independent they are? What role does the president have in this case?
My biggest disappointment is that very frequently we hear about meetings between the president and security agencies. And I wonder what they discuss. I would have thought that in order not to fritter away the investiture that a country had in 2015, in that same presidency and president, who was perceived to be one that would not just be firm, but be clear, particularly on the high point of his campaign, which is to root out corruption. One would have thought that what will dominate such meetings before these embarrassing moments is to have a coordinated security apparatus of the country, one that can effectively manage the dynamics of the crisis as we have it in the country.
One more thing. Now, the one for the EFCC, where there is that allegation about a Senate to probe EFCC over missing 222 mansions. Again, assuming without considering that that's the case, if that were to happen, which agency is supposed to investigate that? Because if EFCC says no such thing happened, what do we do?
Well, as per the Senate, the same with the House of Representatives, the law allows both chambers of the National Assembly to engage in investigations.
I mean, beyond the Senate now.
Yes.
If the Senate were to come up with a report, again, assuming, I'm not saying that they will, may or may not, if indeed there's a question to answer, who investigates?
Well, the economic crimes.
They can't investigate themselves.
No, I'm saying economic crimes involving
the EFCC.
Involving the EFCC. Of course, well, the police is there. The police is there.
How much of the non-confirmation...
The police is there, the presidency is there.
Just before we go to Abuja, how much of the non-confirmation of Magu as the substantive EFCC chairman is being diminished in his capacity to investigate?
Well, you can't throw away that. You can't discountenance it. You can also not succeed if you want to wish it away. Because as it were, you could see that there is a provenance, there is a trajectory in all of this. We've seen the undercurrent waters even before now. And it seems that there is no end to this except Mr. President himself steps in to direct that the same executive body cannot suffer under the weight of this interagency crisis and rivalry. Okay, it will not help any person, and we cannot go anywhere with it.